and welcome back to Guided Souls. I'm your host, Katie, and I'm so excited to be back here for another week with you guys. If you prefer to watch instead of listen, you can head on over to my YouTube channel at Guided Soul Crystals. And you can also follow me on all the socials at Guided Soul Crystals. Before I dive in, I said my name, Katie, and I feel like I sounded weird. Does anyone else have a hard time saying their own name normally? Like, I feel like Katie is such an easy, normal name to say. But when I'm introducing myself, I'm like, I'm Katie. And I don't know, I say it weird. So just normalizing if anyone else feels like they say their name weird. Cause like half the time people are like, wait, what's your name? Like, I actually just say it strangely. So if that's you as well, even if you have a very simple name like Katie, I hear you, I feel you. And now we are moving on with the episode. So today we are talking all about ego deaths, and this has been a difficult one for me in particular this past week. I feel like last week I was talking about timeline jumping and a lot of like the meditative work that you do to rewire your subconscious brain in order to be able to jump timelines. But then the other half of it is like these very real opportunities that the universe presents to you to be able to really conquer these different beliefs and old patterns that you need to let go of in order to move forward. But it's kind of, I don't really like to say the word test, but it's kind of like a final exam. It's like, okay, you studied, you put in the hard work, but like, are you going to actually be able to do this? So that is what I've been faced with for the past week. And in terms of ego deaths and like what that means to me, obviously there are so many wonderful parts of our ego that are necessary to survive in society and they keep us safe, but there are also these learned parts that we have kind of taken on throughout our lifetime, or maybe we even came into this lifetime with these old beliefs from past lifetimes that we were meant to work through in this lifetime that have just kind of hung on and are no longer serving us. And I feel like if you ask most people, hey, what are some like beliefs that are holding you back? They'd probably be able to tell you what a few of them are, but I think being able to identify them and actually being ready to change them are two very different things. And I have been battling a lot of ego deaths over the past year, but there's still some after all of this time of facing my fears that are just hanging on. So that has been what I have been facing over the past week. So I thought I would just give you guys an up close and personal look of what that looks like to me and like sort of the process of how I identify, okay, this is like the universe giving me the opportunity to really remove this part of my ego from my consciousness so that it's no longer a part of my daily life and I'm actually changing the person that I'm being and how I'm able to work through those steps. So I have 3 different examples, real life examples that I'm experiencing. So I thought I would go through those and show you the steps that way instead of just like being like step 1, step 2. And it was funny because I had 2 that I have like fully experienced in the past week. And I was like, I really want a third one. I just feel like things that are in 3s are better. So I'd like to have a third example. And I was thinking of different ones that I could maybe get ahead of and talk about. And then I literally got an email that triggered a very egocentric response of something that I am trying to work through. So literally ask and you shall receive if you are looking for something to present itself so that you can work through it. The universe will deliver. And that's exactly what happened. So I'll start off with an example that happened to me sometime last week. And the first clue that you're going through some sort of ego death where there is like a part of you that needs to die but hasn't quite died yet is the universe will present you with all of these different opportunities to let go, and your ego will hang on for dear life. It's like, oh, no, 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 you are not letting go of me yet. This is when this comes up. This is how we've always responded to this. This is how we are going to continue to respond to this. And it's just like this cyclical pattern of like the universe keeps giving you opportunities and you keep reacting in the same way. So this trick with the actual ego death is to recognize that that's happening, to reflect on it, to be aware of it so that you can change how you react to it moving forward. So I would say clue number one that you're going through an ego death is you will have a bad day. You will feel uncomfortable emotions all day, and you will keep having things happen that reaffirm those bad or negative or just like uncomfortable. I don't want to say bad emotions, but uncomfortable emotions. So I had a day last week where everything was just rubbing me the wrong way. And there were individuals in my life that were doing things that were just making me annoyed and angry for like a very specific reason. And that reason was I didn't feel like the effort that I was putting into a specific relationship, whether it be a friendship or otherwise, was being reciprocated. So it felt like I was giving more than I was receiving. And this is not a new feeling to me. I have felt this way for a big portion of my life. My Venus is in Leo. And if you have no idea what that means, Venus is like the planet of love. And mine is in the sign of Leo, which is all about like larger than life energy and just being out there and bold. And so I love really hard and I am very loyal and I will like do everything for the people that I love. And it makes me happy to see other people happy and to be able to give to other people. But then there's another side of me that also has to do with my Venus and Leo, where I'm like, if they don't reciprocate with that same energy, then I feel unloved. I feel like it's not fair. I feel like they don't appreciate me. You know, I'm that person that will do something for someone, but if I don't feel like the thank you is like to the level of the effort that I just put in, I'm like, well, okay, that was rude. When it's like, the reason I did it wasn't for the thank you. It shouldn't have been for the thank you. It should have been to make that person happy and to make them feel loved, not what are they giving me in return. And so I had all these things happen where it was like someone was disappointing me in one way or another. And I just kept thinking, you know, I would never do that to them, or I would never ask them to do that, or, you know, I did all of this stuff and they're just not appreciating it, you know, fill in the blank. And I was aware that I was being unreasonable. I was aware that I was being over the top, that things were just like rubbing me the wrong way for some reason, but I couldn't really get out of it. And so I just kind of observed it and I was like, I'll journal about this tonight, which I did at the end of the day. And I wrote down all the things that came up that bothered me during the day. And also like memories of past things that were coming up that were bothering me, and realized that the thread that connected it all was this feeling of what I am giving is not being reciprocated. This isn't fair. And the love that I am giving is not the love that I am receiving. And I think in the past, if I had looked at that, my ego would have told me that like the reason that's being highlighted is because I need to have better boundaries and, you know, only be with people that make me feel good and be surrounded by people that make me feel good, which I do think is true to a certain extent and for a certain type of person. But I'm very aware of the fact that a lot of the times my expectations for how I want someone to love and show up for me are not actually realistic expectations. And so because I already have that lens of like, I know that I love really big and I know that I expect a lot from people, I kind of knew that that wasn't actually the direction that I was meant to be going in. And so I had this feeling of, well, I don't want to love any less. Like, I don't want to stop pouring love into other people, but I want to stop expecting all of this stuff in return. And I want to stop feeling resentful and angry and upset and hurt if I don't get exactly what I'm looking for in return. Because that's the other thing is like, I won't tell anyone what I'm looking for in them, but when they don't do it, then I'm let down. It's like, that's setting everyone up for failure. So I had a feeling that it was more about still showing up and pouring a bunch of love into people, but not, wanting to be upset if I don't get the exact thing that I'm looking for in return. And I had this vision that I feel like my spirit guides gave to me, or the universe, or someone on the other side of part of the reason why I'm here is to pour out love, to be love, and to give love to as many people on this planet as humanly possible. And in return, the universe is pouring so much love into me. And it's like, I won't actually be able to give enough love in order to like counteract the amount of love that's coming in for me. But I have to give love in order to make room for that love to come in for me. And I already know that it's pouring in. Obviously, I, have a platform, things are moving, things are going. So I do feel like the love has already poured into me in so many ways, but I feel like the universe was showing me like that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you would just stop expecting all of these things from all of these people and you just decided, I am just going to pour everything I have into giving and being loved, knowing that the universe is going to give love to me, you will see your life take off in a way that you have never seen before. And you will have a level of happiness that you have never experienced because you are still doing all of these things that you love in terms of giving love to other people, but you don't have that angst and animosity that is currently clouding how much you love to give love, if that makes sense. And sometimes I even struggle with that on social media and the readings that I'm giving. I will have people that will email me, have you heard from my specific loved one, or asking for a free reading, or, just wanting more information on a certain reading that I'm giving. And I'm kind of like, my immediate reaction is like, don't they see that like I have a lot going on? I don't have the time to answer every single person about their specific past loved one. And like, aren't I giving enough by giving this reading? And what I realize now is, I don't have to answer all of those emails. That's not my responsibility. I did give a reading, but I don't have to feel animosity to that person. I can recognize that they are a person who desperately wants to hear from their past loved one and they're just looking for confirmation. And I can send them love energetically without having to sit down and answer every single person who's asking specific questions about their past loved ones. Like, I can put up my own boundaries to keep me safe and to protect my energy while also still continuing to love people, even if their actions do not match up with what I would do. And that's another thing, is like, I really have to come to terms with other people are not me. Other people do not do things the way that I would do them. And I have to stop judging and picking at people for not doing things in the way that I would do them, or for doing things that I wouldn't do. I feel like I'm a person who's very aware of not wanting to like impose on someone. And I feel like people impose on me a lot. And so it's separating from the fact that we are different people. Just because I wouldn't do that doesn't mean that what they're doing is wrong. And just because they are asking me for a certain thing doesn't mean that I have to get rid of all of my boundaries to serve this person. I can still continue to give them love without having to, on an individual basis, give specific responses to hundreds of people a day, because that's just not realistic for anyone. So I feel like I became aware of this. I became aware of like where I'm meant to go moving forward, how I want to react. So in the days after that, I just kept picturing myself like pouring out love as sort of like this light that was pouring out of me, while also simultaneously getting this light from above. And it did help in very specific situations where I normally would have gotten upset, or like, how could this person think that was an okay thing to like ask for? and instead was just able to like recognize what my boundaries needed to be, but also to give love to that person. But I still have found, even in the past 24 hours, new opportunities that the universe continues to present me with in order to put this into practice. And out of respect for everyone in my life, I'm not going to give super specific examples, but it's just because I had this one day where everything was building up, so it really made me focus and look at it. But it doesn't mean that I'm done facing that. It just means that I'm very aware of it now. So every time that feeling of like resentment or like just kind of annoyance comes up in me, I'm able to come back to that visual of pouring out love, receiving love from the universe, and deciding how I want to react in that specific situation moving forward. So that was my first example of an ego death that I'm going through right now. My second one, which you have all been privy to and you have all seen me go in and out of this one, is my lack of ability to commit and stick with my mediumship path because I keep talking myself out of it, because I'm really like afraid that I will fail, or even worse, afraid that I'll succeed and have like a bunch of eyes on me. So I've been doing a ton of meditations and subconscious work and all of that to really refocus and hone in on the fact that this is my path, and taking solace in the fact that whether or not I'm like a successful professional medium is not up to me. But what is up to me is giving this all I have, really trying and not running away. Like all of the other times I have sort of dipped my toe in this, I've like had one foot in the water and then I run away. And then I'll maybe have 2 feet in the water and then I'll run away. But I'm never like getting in the water and actually seeing if I can swim. And I know that if I'm not meant to be like a successful professional medium, then I won't be. But if I don't try, then I will never know if that was actually meant to be or not. So I've really, really been working on accepting this as my path and surrendering to whatever happens, but making sure that I actually try and commit to this so I can say that I gave it my all. But of course, my ego is telling me that's not safe, because whether you fail or succeed, that's scary. And so we don't want you to go down that path. We want you to get out of the water like you have been doing for the past year. So yesterday I had this beautiful meditation in the morning where I was really visualizing myself becoming a successful medium and all of the wonderful things that would bring me in my life. And then afterwards, after the meditation was done, I just had this overwhelming feeling of anxiety and like something wasn't right. And I took that as my sign of, oh, that means I shouldn't be a medium. That means I should actually be looking at a different path. And that means I should stop pursuing this and I should start pursuing something different. And I actually found myself unknowingly searching for confirmation and signs that I'm not actually meant to be on the mediumship path. Like, as I was meditating, one of the things that came through was a past loved one of someone that I know. And I didn't actually know this past loved one, but I was like, okay, maybe I'll like get some information from this past loved one and see if it's right. And it wasn't. And I was like, okay, cool. So I suck at being a medium, when in reality, it's like one piece of very specific information wasn't fully correct. But I also, again, I feel like my mind was searching for reasons to get off the medium path. And then another thing was that after my videos gain a certain amount of views, I really don't look at the comments, not because I don't care, not because I don't want to hear about your loved ones, but it's just like overwhelming and not everyone is kind in the comments. And so I happened to open my TikTok app, and I had like over 100 notifications. And of course, the one at the top, the only one that I saw was like, this isn't real. You're not a real medium. You just made this up. And the other 99 comments were probably positive, but I just happened to see that one. And so my ego was like, see, not only is this person right that you're not a real medium, but Number two, it's not safe. It's not safe to do this because look, people are criticizing you. And my ego told me you were meant to see that comment so that it would discourage you from being a medium, when in reality, the reason I was meant to see that comment is so that I could work through that, realize that that's not true. That's just one person's opinion on the internet who knows nothing about me. This video wasn't meant to find them. It just got so big that it ended up reaching them. Or maybe it actually was one of their past loved ones, but they just weren't open to hearing it. But it has nothing to do with me, and it has no indication of whether or not I should continue on this path or not. And so I was like journaling about it. I meditated so much yesterday. I meditated like 3 times. I was like, just please show me like what I am meant to do. I'm so confused by this. But luckily, I was able to come back to, just in my mind, I didn't actually rewatch it, but the episode I did a few weeks ago about falling in love with being a medium, it's basically like anytime I'm doubting my medium path, come back to this episode, like being a medium is the answer. So I was able to kind of come back to that, come back to the fact that I am here to be love and give love. And this is one way that I can do that. And to really like show myself that this is not my intuition that is talking. This is my ego that is trying to keep me safe. And while I appreciate the intention of my ego, it is no longer serving me. So yesterday, I think one thing that helped me get through this particular time was not doing anything for or against my medium path as I was working through these feelings. So, I have some trainings and things set up for the future that I could have canceled, or I could have gone out of my way to commit to more mediumship things, like in the face of this, to be like, no, I will commit. It's like when we are feeling these feelings, I think one of the best things we can do is just pause, give ourselves space. Eventually, after many attempts at meditating, I started just like cleaning my house. I hung some pictures. I rearranged some things. I went in the garden. Like they're just little things to distract myself, because realistically, nothing was going to get solved yesterday. And by the end of the day, I was able to really come back to the fact that, okay, that was a flare up from my ego. That was not my intuition. I'm still meant to go down this path. This is more reassurance that I'm meant to go down this path. And when I wake up tomorrow, I will continue down that path. This is not the first time that this has come, in for me. I'm sure this fear will continue to come in, and this particular part of my ego will take a while before it is like fully gone. And maybe to a certain extent, it won't ever be gone, but at least I'm aware of it now. And I'm encouraged by the fact that this time it took me less than a day to realize what was happening instead of months, which is what it feels like it has been historically. Is I will go out of the water for months, and this time it was like I still kept my feet in the water. It wasn't comfortable, but I still kept both feet in the water. And now I'm like continuing to walk forward into the water. So I was definitely proud of myself for that. And it made me hopeful that as this continues to come up, because I know that I will be able to move forward quicker and with less angst and uncomfortability, and really just recognize it's just my ego trying to keep me safe. And while I appreciate that, this is an old tape that I don't have to keep replaying. And then the last one that really just tapped on my shoulder just in time for this podcast, because I was hoping to have 3 examples instead of 2, comes back to my lack mindset, my fear and anxiety surrounding money in particular. And as I was sitting here preparing for this podcast, I got an email, and I checked my email and it said, Katie, we missed you at class last night. You will be charged a no-show fee for not showing up. So I had signed up for a fitness class yesterday that was out of my comfort zone. It was like an elevated skill level that I haven't done before. And I did get like clearance to take it from an instructor, but it was definitely going to be a reach. And yesterday was the day that I was having all of these doubts and feeling not good enough in my mediumship abilities and questioning whether or not I should even go down this path, and like actively seeking out different examples of why I shouldn't go down the path. And I just felt like, you know what? Today is not the day to try something so outside of my comfort zone that will also reaffirm to me that I am not good enough at something. And so I just decided to cancel the class. I ended up doing a late cancel, which is a $15 cancellation fee if you cancel within like less than 12 hours, which is understandable. I've literally only done that like 2 times in the whole time I've been going to the studio. And it wasn't an easy decision because $15 is, $15 I could have had that I'm now spending just to cancel this class. But I decided it was the right thing to do for me. So I got a confirmation email that the class had been canceled. And so when I got this email this morning saying, you were a no-show, so we're charging you a no-show fee, immediately, like everything in my body and in my being was like heightened. And I don't even know what the no-show fee is. It's probably like $25 instead of 15. But I was just like upset. I was like, feeling that feeling in my chest, just annoyed, angry. Who can I like contact about this? And, what passive aggressive email or text could I send? And it's like, okay, here's an opportunity where you don't have to accept that they are charging you this amount that is more than what they should be charging you for, but getting upset about it, feeling like you have to do something immediately and it has to be forceful, all these things just like isn't going to be helpful. And so I looked at the email. It was an automatic one, but I found the little email for the studio. I forwarded them the like cancellation email that I got yesterday and just said, hi, I got this no show email this morning, but I actually canceled yesterday. Here's the email below to show that. Can you please confirm that I'll be charged the $15 instead of whatever the no show cancellation fee is? Thank you so much, Katie. And I was like, okay, that will be resolved. I don't have to keep ruminating over that. I can just walk away, go on with recording this podcast. I don't have to be in this elevated state where I'm just agitated and upset for really no good reason. And honestly, it's probably a difference of like $10. So I can just bring it on back down and do something that I enjoy, which is record this podcast. Now, it is only 11 a.m., so I am hopeful that I was able to, get that out of my system for the day, and I don't have to keep being presented with all of these opportunities from the universe to show that I'm overcoming this lack mindset. But if I do keep being presented with them, at least I have this like heightened awareness now that may be coming in for me, and that I have the opportunity to react differently than I have in the past, and that this is all a work in progress. I am a work in progress, but that I really don't want to continue these patterns. And these are things that I will continue to be aware of and continue to work on. So that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you happen to be going through an ego death of your own, I am sending you so much love and strength. I know it is not easy, but you can do it, and you will be so much stronger and happier on the other side of it. And the work that you're putting in now really will make a really big difference in your life. So I'm proud of you. And if you haven't already, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. If you're ever looking for crystals, whether it be jewelry or otherwise, you can head on over to guidedsoulcrystals.com and follow me on all the socials at Guided Soul Crystals. Until next time, keep going. You are doing amazing, and I love you.